So hello everybody, welcome back. I hope that you like this video. It's about how to think properly about gardens and things like this, and this is based upon a class that I did for for the people that was in my Telegram group about, I don't know, I think it was like a year ago or something like this. And it was a requested class about how to do gardens properly, because gardens are very, very, very expensive, and people are, you know, putting a lot of money into this topic, and it's not about the money. Quite frankly, you might overspend a lot of money because you are doing it wrong. And the reason being that there is a huge market for this topic, and so I'm going to try to explain to you the thought process of this. It's kind of like, you know, when you are a rookie and you're trying to buy a Ferrari for learning how to drive and things like this. That doesn't work. And so you know, like I said, I hope that you know I write very fast because I try to do the class like if I was in the classroom, and therefore, you know, that's why my videos are long. So please bear with it, and thank you for the understanding. And so grab your coffee and your notebook because you might need it. And if you wanted to share a coffee with me while you're at it, or help me out, links for that down below. Now, first of all, I need to tell you that if you are going to build a garden inside your house and things like this, like, you know, a lot of people will do it, like buying lights and all of these things because they are thinking about the garden and, you know, creating an artificial system for the garden and things like this. Yeah, you are probably screwing things up in terms of your money and in terms of the results. The reason being that what you want is to understand natural light, and at the same time understand that if there is no electricity, whatever light you have, you know, that it is artificial, will not work. The reason being that energy is severely limited in hard times, and therefore if you're thinking that you're just going to spend all of the energy from your generator into the garden, yeah, you are going to be so screwed, because the relationship between fuel for that generator and things like this is just not going to be worth it. And so you need to really rethink hard times and resources, because you won't have the system to back you up. And if you don't have the system, then you need the natural way of doing things. And this means that you really need to pick two things: location and budget. When you are picking the location, you really want to try to have the woman selecting this with you together. You gotta figure out what is the best place and like a general area in your entire layout for your surroundings. So for example, let's say that you have a square, you know, a rectangle, and your house is in this corner. Then you gotta figure out, you know, which areas you want to pick for the garden. And once you have selected the general area, by the way, I will tell you how to select the general area better, you need to pick the small things. When you're picking the small things, it's better to have the women take a look at that. Seriously, it's better to have the women, because the women have better relationship with plants than men do. And women will understand, you know, the soil, the energy, the lighting, the harmony, the temperature, and the feelings, and a lot of things. Because remember, plants are living things, and they will react to energy, and they will react to emotions, even if you don't see it. And therefore, it's important that the woman pick several things within the area that the man is selecting. Okay, so how do you pick a selected, a general area? Number one, pick something that can be hidden, especially if it is in plain sight. Meaning, okay, it is hard times and you have a backyard garden and everybody knows. And therefore, let's say that you have sweet potatoes or something like that. And then it's collection time. Yeah, you leave the plant and there is nothing. And you're like, what happened? Yeah, somebody stole your crop. And therefore, it needs to be hidden in plain sight, and at the same time, it needs to be protected. Therefore, you want to have protection. If you want to put it inside your house, you also need to pick where is the best lighting. Because if you put plants that need light, a lot of light to grow, and you put them where there is shadow from the house, or you put them where there is just, let's say that it needs to be a lot of light, and then you put the plant in the middle of the house. No, you need to put it next to the windows, and so that it can get light. And not all windows will get the same light. This is, try to look at it in your own house. You are thinking that your house, if it has a wall this size, you can pick whatever window, it will have the same light. No, each room will get different kind of light, regardless of being in the same house. And this is just, there are even people that will be a maniac about this, and they will buy the device for measuring light, so that you can know which room is better in terms of light, especially because, like I said, if the plant needs a lot of light and you are going to put it where there is shadow, yeah, it's not going to grow. And then the temperatures, they will vary even within your own room. And even if you have a garden outside and you have the greenhouse and things like this, the garden might not work because it doesn't have enough insects and it doesn't have enough wind. Plants also need winds and things like this. This is why you also have plants that are specifically, like a wind barrier. And you can put the wind barriers as a plant that will protect the insides. It will be kind of like a small box. You can set it up with a lot of wind plants around it, and that way you will have insects, wind, and you will have everything that the plant needs, because plants breathe and they create water with them. They create oxygen, and that means that the plant is basically creating condensation. And so if you have a greenhouse, the condensation within the plant and the difference with temperature between the inside and the outside of this greenhouse might actually go against you. The reason being, like I said, because you are making it like if it was a small oven, and it's going to be bad for the plant, because the plant doesn't like being in so much humidity all of the time. Some plants like humidity, but most of them will very likely go kind of like, no, I need freedom, I need wind, I need other things. And so you gotta be very careful about the selection of the place, and then the selection of the structure. You want to try to have the structure made out of natural materials and not so much, plastic, and especially not so much glass or things that can act like a condensation machine or a condensation device. Because then unless you are making it on purpose, there is people that will know a lot about this topic and they will do it on purpose, and that way, every time that the plant breathes, it will create water, and the water you collect it through the bottle, because this will be done kind of like bottles, the plastic bottles, like a Coca-Cola bottle or something like that. You cut it in the top, in the bottom, and then you place it on top of the plant, and so the plant can breathe because it has a hole in the top, and it will create water by itself, and therefore, you know, the water will be trapped by the walls of the bottle, and then you can have that, and therefore it will not require that much water in and that much things, because it has condensation. So every time that you are thinking about this, you need to think about the position of the plant, meaning, you know, if it is next to windows, it will be better. If it is, you know, near a condensation structures, you might have problems with fungus, you might have problems with a lot of things. That's why, you know, even if you put plants next to a wall, you have to be careful, because depending upon the type of plant, you might actually destroy the wall, because the condensation of the plant will create fungus and will attract a lot of things, and then it will damage the wall and things like this. And that is why you really need to figure things out like this. Your alternative will be like, okay, I'm selecting this area. I don't care how good or how bad it is. I'm just picky and I like it here, and destroy everything and then to put it there. Yeah, it's going to cost you hundreds of dollars, and it's going to cost you to maintain. And then because you probably didn't do it, you know, properly, then the system won't work. And that means that it will be more expensive every time that you have to try to fix it. And even then, you know, the yield of the crops and everything will not be worth it, because you probably are selecting one type of crop or one type of thing only. And if you're selecting only one type, then what happens if you get a disease for that particular plant or whatever, and then you ended up with nothing? And so it's a bad thing. Do not spend money on things that you do not understand. You need to understand the proper structure. You need to understand the proper location. And you need to understand the fact that you're dealing with plants. And plants are beings that produce water, and they produce condensation. And then they produce, you know, they produce a lot of carbon dioxide also. This also means that if you're thinking, I'm going to put a plant, you know, in my room because I want my room to have more oxygen, yeah, I'm sorry, you might need to, you know, reconsider that one, because plants also produce carbon dioxide. And then, you know, it's not going to be as clean as you're thinking. Some plants will produce more oxygen, some plants will produce more carbon dioxide, depending upon the plant. And so don't mess around with things that you do not understand. And this is why you need sort of like a little bit of knowledge, and just the tiny bit, the one that, you know, every kindergarten will get. You know why we teach kids who are 5 and 6, we teach them about growing a seed? The reason why, you know, most people are like, that's useless. No, it's not. You need to understand that if there is a plant and it is growing, you need to understand that that seed is going to grow anywhere. And that also means that you need to be aware of walls and things like that in your house, because everywhere there is a hole and it has a little bit of water, you will have a plant that will destroy the structures. And so you need to understand that. And that's why we teach little kids, beware of seeds and beware of plants, because plants will have an impact on everywhere. Because plants also attract not only insects, but they attract fungus. And they attract other kinds of animals, because animals will feed on plants, and therefore you will have issues with gardens that are related to when you were a kid and you were understanding, you know, this topic. You gotta grow the seed, yes, but it's not going to be the way that you're thinking. Oh, so it needs light, so I'm just going to go and put a bulb on it and then it will grow. No, that was not the point. The point is that you understand the location is very important, because you need to make it so that you don't have to overwork and spend a lot of money on it, because your budget, your money is going to be severely limited in hard times. And not only that, but if you have to change the light bulb, that means that you need to, you know, look for the light bulb. If you can't find a proper light bulb, then what are you going to do? You see, there are a lot of things that you are not thinking, and that's why you will be fighting with especially with women, because we as women, we understand. If you have a lamp, it's not about the lamp. It's about the electricity, the spare part, the cables, the fact that people might turn it off or turn it on just because, and there will be people that if you pull the cable, then you might create an accident. I mean, there are a lot of things that you as a man just don't get. And that is not your fault, okay? You're probably going to try to do your best. So your best as a guy is pick the right location. Then get the woman to fix the small details and the small problems that you can't see because she is a maniac. You are not. And therefore, you need both sides to be working on this. And then after you have, figure out things like this, because like I said, there are over 20 topics related to this, 20 details that can damage your gardens just because you didn't pick the right location and just because you didn't understand the structure and you didn't understand the relationship between the plant and the structure. You're going to end up having to clean more, you're going to end up having to spend more water, you are going to end up having, so many freaking things that it's just annoying. And therefore, that's why you need to do this as natural as possible. And use, by the way, at this point, you, the guy, need to understand gravity. Try to understand the best re-irrigation system that works with gravity. Not the one that works with a water pump and buttons and things. No, because that one, during hard times, what happens if you have the water pump damage? What happens if there is, if there are a lot of things that don't work? You need gravity. Use gravity towards your structure, and that will be the best thing. And that one, men have a field day every time that they're using these gravity devices and things like that. Oh my God, they look like a kid with a toy that is new. I swear, men are like they laugh, and you can see the sparkle in their eyes when they are working on these things by using proper machinery and proper devices, especially the ones that, like I said, work with gravity. And so work better, smarter, and cheaper. Cheaper, because if you're spending $1,000 in the garden, as a husband, and then your wife goes, I want to buy a dress and it is $200, yeah. And you're like, oh no, you're crazy. You're not buying a dress $200, then the woman is going to be with you. You are not, you spend you spend $1,000 in the freaking garden that doesn't even work. So I'm spending my things. Oh my God, and you will have such a big fight all over because the garden is your responsibility and your idea, and you are overdoing it. And the reason being you forgot that you're not a woman. You're doing it like if it was one thing. No, a garden is an ecosystem. If it is an ecosystem, that means that there are at least 20 things together. That means it's a female territory. There is no way that you're going to rule that one. You being a man, you are not ruling that one. Unless you're telling me that you're a farmer and then you are actually doing the physical work. And even if you are doing the physical work, if the farm is not making money and things like this and that, is because you screwed up, because you didn't get the woman involved. The woman will probably do it better than you. And so it's about combination. So try to use your own strength when it comes to the garden. Fix particular points, general locations, general structure, general these, and things like that. Oh, and the budget, you have to put it in a very, try not to overdo it in terms of money. Because quite frankly, if you spend a lot of money in the garden, even if it is for the whole family and things like this, the woman is not going to see it like that. And she is going to, because like I said, she's handling, a woman is supposed to handle the money for the home, and a garden is part of the home, and therefore you are stepping into her territory, and every time that she wants to get something, she will go back at you because of this topic. So understand that one properly, because you're going to probably fight about it. Now, Next one is talking about the budget for the garden. And again, you might want to take a look at the videos that I have about budget. I do not know if I will have all of them before or after this topic, but I'm going to leave it up to here. Just try to figure this one out before you spend 1 cent into this. Seriously, and especially talk to your woman before you do this. Because if either of you are thinking, we're going to create a garden and therefore we're just going to buy plants and put them wherever and place like this, you are going to drain the money. And if you drain the money with no results whatsoever, just because you're thinking that this is a hobby or whatever, and this is actually a tool that might save your life later, figure this one out with your wife. Because if she's thinking that this is a hobby, then she's just going to go like that. Buy the plants, put them whatever, water them, and she's not thinking as a garden the way that you are. As in, I want the garden to produce food, I want the garden to produce this, I want the garden to produce that. No, she's thinking it's a hobby. Or she's thinking, I want to have this, produce these things, and you're the husband, and then you're like, yeah, no, it's a hobby. So breathe, take notes with yourself, and then make sure that your wife takes notes also, and then the two of you together compare them. If you do not understand the unity of the garden and why do you want it and all of these things and where are you going to put it and then the lighting and all of these things, you are going to be fighting. And remember, a garden requires time and it also requires teamwork. And so if you can't have the teamwork, it's not going to produce anything. And it might actually even, create tensions between the two of you. So fix that, and then you can step it up to the second part, which is, okay, now that we have a plan or we have this and we have that and we understand what we're doing and things like this and this and this and that, and we have an arrangement, an agreement and all of these things, now we can talk about how much money do you want to put in and what are we buying and where are we going, with all of these things. And at this point, I will do another video.